Welcome to Midwest Matters. I'm Joe Galvin, HUD Regional Administrator overseeing the 6 states of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. I'll be your host with a series of conversations that highlight both the initiatives of Secretary Ben Carson and some of the best practices that we're seeing throughout the Midwest region from our partners and collaborators. Today, I'll be talking to Richard Monocchio, the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Cook County. Rich has served in several city government capacities, and he has also worked at the federal level with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. He is affiliated with numerous civic and community organizations, including the nonprofit Community and Economic Development Association of Cook County, where he is a board member. He also serves on the Cook County Workforce Board and on the Cook County Land Bank's Board of Directors. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's great to see you again, and thank you for mentioning my federal service at HUD. It's some of my fondest memories there.
So we've been hearing a lot about personal stories of individuals and entities rising to the occasion to help us continue to engage with those we serve. So, working and helping our fellow Americans, our fellow residents of Cook County, that's the bottom line. So can you share some of your personal background that really shaped the work that you're engaged in doing today?
Yes, I think that you're absolutely right. At times like this really underscore, I think, that what this country needs to be about. I mean, we need to remember that we need to take care of each other. I started way back at the federal level in working for a member of Congress, and the passion for housing probably stemmed somewhat from, growing up, we didn't have the most stable housing situation. So that kind of stayed with me. And then when I finally got a chance to make a difference, one of the first things I did with Congressman Sengmeister was start a not-for-profit housing development corporation in Will County, and we built a homeless shelter there, the Daybreak Shelter, that still continues today. So I think that kind of gave me the impetus and the love for this business to do more.
Remember, you told me the story about working with the congressman, and that pretty much launched you into federal service, and we appreciate that. So during this COVID-19 pandemic, we're hearing lots of stories about public-private partnerships, things that are going on in the community, and of course, your people who are at the ground level, at the grassroots, trying to continue to deliver services. Can you tell us about some of the things that are going on in Cook County?
Sure. We know that the human needs of people are really being challenged at this point. So we made a concerted effort, Joe, to make sure that our residents had enough to eat and protective PPE, so when they do have to venture out, they're safe. We've got a great partnership with an organization known as Top Box Foods. We had a wonderful food delivery 2 weeks ago to all of our family sites, and to a person, I think, Joe, every single resident was so grateful that somebody cared about it. One of our senior buildings, and because the common areas are closed for obvious reasons, our maintenance guys were actually packing the boxes of food and bringing them up to each of the 14 stories of this building to each site.
Wow.
I think that really kind of underscores the culture we've tried to build, Joe, that, this is about people.
Because it's about passion, right? It's about mission. So when you got your people who are doing the packing, food delivery, and I saw you, it's one of the trucks and loading, unloading boxes, and you, of course, were masked and taking all the precautions, and that's so important. Make sure your team is safe, because they are on the front lines. They are doing the work of the people.
These frontline heroes, they continue to go in and having to go into people's units to do emergency work orders, for example, is a big deal, and they do it protected, but they do it. And the day you mentioned when we were out at the sites with the food, that was one of the better days I've had in public service, I have to say, because you really feel like you're making a tangible difference at that time. I mean, just delivering a box of 2 weeks worth of food to a mom with 3 kids and just the delight on their faces. It inspires us to do more.
I can almost feel your heart just kind of exploding with the love of the individuals and knowing that you're helping out this mom and her children. And those are really, really good stories. But once again, it's about the reasons we entered into this public service to make a difference.
Absolutely.
As you probably know, last summer we launched the Regional Affordable Housing Task Force. And that was to look at the Midwest, the 6 states, and talk about the shortage of safe and decent housing that's affordable. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing to address the housing crisis in Cook County? And here's the other caveat. How do you think things will change once we get back into some new sense of normalcy?
First, I want to commend you and the department for undertaking this initiative, Joe. Much needed because, as you know very well, being in this most of your life, solving this housing crisis is multifaceted. There's no silver bullet. So I do think that the emphasis that the federal government put on untangling the regulatory barriers was very smart, because you have too many places that have too many rules and regulations, and especially when it comes to affordable housing, those need to be relaxed. So I think that, and the fact that every single locality has to look at its zoning, because when you have the zoning that only allows single-family houses, you by definition will not have affordable housing. Second question, believe it or not, I think that some good could come out of this in terms of housing. We know we had a very serious problem before the pandemic. Now we know that, 43.6 million renters in the United States, 25% of them are going to have trouble paying their rent. So I think it's going to put a focus on how serious this issue is, Joe. It's about people needing help, especially in this day and age, with maybe wages not keeping up and the cost of housing going up. So it creates a real tough situation, and I think government has to be in the middle of it.
There is a project that you guys have. It's in Evanston. It's a RAD mixed income development deal. Can you talk a little bit about that one?
So we are actually building a mixed income mid-rise on a parking lot next to a senior building that we own already. So it's putting this land in place to not only put for market rents, we're going to have 168 units. 50 of those apartments are going to be affordable. And the beauty of it is, Joe, not $1 of federal development subsidy. So we're building it like a private sector development deal, using those top rents to help subsidize the affordable. So, I really want to get this one off the ground, and I think it's a model not only for here, but potentially for the whole nation.
Cook County is huge. That's on the north part of your jurisdiction. Let's move down to the south side, to Chicago Heights. They received the Chicago Neighborhood Planning Grant under your leadership. Can you give us an update?
We're very proud of that, Joe. We were the first suburb in the nation, as you know, to get one. And that is moving ahead. We will be applying for an implementation grant next year, but we've already started. We're going to do a new park at the elementary school park campus. That's going to start now because HUD gave us the funds to do that. And we've also applied for low-income housing federal tax credits to build a 82-unit senior development in Chicago Heights to kick off the whole redevelopment of that area. And the other thing I'd like to mention, Joe, is, HUD a few years ago instituted the RAD program, as you mentioned. And I think RAD is one of the best things the department's ever done. It enabled us to rehabilitate all of our high rises and all of our family housing, because we were able to act like the private sector, get a first mortgage, go about the business of rehabbing the developments. And without that, I think we'd have been stuck with this 1960 era housing that was just continuing to deteriorate. So the only way out of this housing crisis is to build. We have to build, and therefore the leadership from the department to encourage municipalities to loosen that red tape is very important.
And I think through everything that's going on now, we've learned a little bit about how to loosen the red tape, cut through some of the rules and regs, and make things just a faster process. So I just want to say thank you for joining us and sharing all the updates on what you're doing at the Housing Authority of Cook County to keep the residents safe, secure, and provide affordable housing. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you so much, Joe. Stay safe.
Thank you. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in to HUD Midwest Matters. We will be announcing our next guest soon, so you can watch all our episodes on the HUD YouTube channel. So we'll see you next time. Thank you.